The large ship floated silently in space, its Earth Alliance markings shining under the light of a distant star. Inside, Captain Hyun stood tall, his hands clasped behind his back as he looked out at the vast emptiness before him. After 20 years in the Earth Space Force, this mission would be his greatest achievement. "Captain, we're receiving the signal," said Dae, the communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "The Yuldar ship will meet us in 10 minutes, Hyun nodded. "Tell the crew to prepare for first contact. This is the moment we've all been waiting for." The year was 2157. Humans had spread across their solar system, building homes on Mars and mining operations on asteroids. But they had never met aliens before. The Yuldar had sent a message 6 months ago, and now both sides had agreed to meet in neutral space. Dr. Jun, the science officer, walked up to Hyun. "Sir, all systems are ready. We've prepared the translation software based on the language samples they sent." "Good," said Hyun. "And the gifts?" "Ready in the meeting room," Jun replied. "Samples of our art, music, and basic scientific knowledge." Hyun smiled. He was proud to represent Earth in this historic moment. As a boy in Busan, he had looked up at the stars and dreamed of this day. "Sir," Dae called out suddenly, "I'm picking up something big on sensors." The view screen showed a massive ship appearing from nowhere. It was at least 5 times bigger than their own vessel, shaped like a smooth silver oval with no visible engines or weapons. "That's impressive," Jun whispered, checking his instruments. "Their technology must be far beyond ours." "Remember," Hyun told his crew, "we represent all of humanity today. Let's show them our best." The Yuldar sent a docking request, and soon both ships were connected by a temporary bridge. Hyun waited with Jun, Dae, and 2 security officers. In the meeting room, which was decorated with earth plants and artwork, the door slid open. 3 tall figures entered. The Yuldar had gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water. They had 4 arms and large dark eyes that blinked sideways. They wore simple white garments that covered their thin bodies. "Welcome," Hyun said, bowing slightly. "I am Captain Hyun of the Earth Alliance ship Horizon. We are honored to meet you." The translation device on the table hummed as it processed his words. After a moment, the tallest Yuldar spoke and the device translated, "I am Speaker Tail. We greet the humans of Earth." The meeting went well at first. The Yuldar seemed curious about humans and asked many questions about Earth. But Hyun noticed something odd. Whenever a human moved suddenly or raised their voice in excitement, the Yuldar would flinch slightly. They kept more distance than seemed necessary. During a break in the talks, Jun pulled Hyun aside. "Sir, I'm getting strange readings from my scanner." The Yuldar appeared to be generating some kind of energy field around themselves. "What kind of field?" Hyun asked. "It's like a dampening field, but only when they're near us. I think they're protecting themselves from something." Hyun frowned. "From what?" "We've shown no hostility." The talks continued for 3 days. The Yuldar shared information about their world, located 20 light-years from Earth. They had achieved space travel 300 years earlier and had met 7 other alien species. "We are pleased to welcome humans to the galactic community," Speaker Teal said on the final day. "However, we must establish certain safety protocols." Hyun tilted his head. "Safety protocols?" "Yes. For the protection of all species, we request that humans remain within their solar system for now. A period of observation is standard for new species." Hyun was surprised. "Observation? For how long?" 50 of your Earth years would be sufficient," Tail replied calmly. "That's not acceptable," Hyun said firmly, but politely. "We've already established colonies on Mars and mining operations throughout our system. Our people are explorers. We cannot accept such restrictions without good reason." The Yuldar exchanged glances. For the first time, Hyun saw what looked like fear in their large eyes. "It is not a request, Captain Hyun," Tail said, his voice suddenly cold. "It is a requirement. A quarantine zone will be established at the edge of your solar system. Any human vessels attempting to leave will be turned back." Dee, who had been monitoring communications, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from their ship. They're encrypting most of it, but I caught a phrase before it was blocked." "What did they say?" Hyun asked. "Something about Earth being the birthplace of the destroyers. I couldn't get more before they changed frequencies." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The Yuldar had all gone very still. "You are monitoring our private communications," Tail said. "It wasn't a question. It was an accident," Hyun replied. "But now I must ask, why do you fear us? We've shown no hostility." Tail's four hands made a strange gesture. "It is not what you have done, Captain. It is what you might do, what you are capable of doing." "And what is that?" Hyun pressed. "This meeting is over," Tail announced. "The quarantine will begin immediately. We will leave a monitoring station at the edge of your system. Any attempt to go beyond it will be considered an act of war." After the Yuldar left, Hyun's crew was shocked and confused. Why would they fear us? Day wondered. Their technology is clearly superior to ours. Dr. June was studying the data he had collected. "Captain, look at this." During our talks, whenever we mentioned our history of warfare or our rapid technological advancement, their bio-readings showed extreme stress. "As if they were afraid of our potential," Hyun said thoughtfully. "There's something else," June added. "I found a pattern in their dampening field. It wasn't designed to protect them from our technology. It was designed to shield them from us. From humans, specifically." That night, as the Horizon traveled back to Earth with the news of first contact in the quarantine, Hyun couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the fear he had seen in the Yuldar's eyes. Not fear of what humans had done, but fear of what humans might do. "What do they know about us that we don't know about ourselves?" he whispered to the stars. 3 days later, the Earth Alliance Council held an emergency meeting. Hyun presented his report on the Yuldar encounter. "They're hiding something from us," he concluded. "Something about humanity frightens them despite their advanced technology. I recommend we respect the quarantine for now, but increase our deep space monitoring. We need to find out why the universe fears humans." As the council debated, Hyun thought about Tail's words again. What were humans capable of that could frighten such an advanced species? And what did they mean by the destroyers? Whatever the answer was, Hyun knew humanity would not be contained for long. The stars had always called to them, and now more than ever they needed to find their place among them, even if the universe wasn't ready for what humans might become. 5 years had passed since the Yuldar placed their quarantine around Earth's solar system. The people of Earth had not taken the restriction well. Protests had filled the streets of major cities. Politicians made angry speeches. Scientists worked harder than ever to improve Earth's space technology. Lieutenant Seok sat in the captain's chair of the patrol ship Eagle, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship's job was to monitor the edge of the quarantine zone. The Yuldar had placed marker buoys in space to show where humans could not go. Beyond that line floated a single Yuldar monitoring station. "Another quiet day," said Officer Kim, who handled the ship's sensors. "Nothing but empty space and alien watchers." Seok nodded. He had joined the Space Force hoping for adventure among the stars. Instead, he guarded an invisible prison wall. "Wait," Kim said suddenly. "I'm picking up something strange. There's a small ship about 50 kilometers beyond the zone. It's not Yuldar, and it seems to be damaged." Seok leaned forward in his chair. "Show me." The screen changed to show a small vessel drifting in space. Its engines were dark, and part of its hull was broken open. "Any life signs?" Seok asked. Kim checked his readings. "Yes, but they're weak. Whoever is in there doesn't have much time left." Seok thought quickly. Orders said no human ships should cross the quarantine line. But saving lives was the first duty of any space captain. "Prepare the rescue shuttle," Seok ordered. "I'll take a small team across." "Sir," Kim warned, "the Yuldar station will see us." "Then we'll be quick," Seok replied. "I won't let someone die when we can help." 20 minutes later, Seok's shuttle carefully approached the damaged ship. Up close he could see it was unlike any vessel he had seen before. Its design was smooth and rounded with no sharp edges. "No response to our hails," said the communications officer. "We'll have to go inside," Seok decided. "Suit up." Wearing their spacesuits, Seok and 2 crew members entered the alien ship through its damaged section. The air inside was thin but breathable. The corridors were wide and short, built for beings smaller than humans. "Life signs are coming from ahead," said Officer Park, looking at her scanner. They found the ship's control room. 3 small aliens lay on the floor. They had pale green skin and large round heads with 4 eyes. All 3 were injured. "Let's get them to our medical bay," Seok ordered. As they carried the aliens back to their shuttle, a new voice spoke over Seok's radio. "This is Captain Minji of Earth Intelligence. Hold your position, Lieutenant Seok." Surprised, Seok looked up to see another human shuttle approaching. It had no markings and moved silently. "Captain Minji? I wasn't told about any intelligence operations in this area." "That's the point of secret operations, Lieutenant," Minji replied. "We need to talk about what you found." An hour later, the rescued aliens were resting in the Eagle's medical bay. Captain Minji had come aboard. She was shorter than Seok, but had a commanding presence that made everyone stand straighter when she entered a room. "Those aliens are called the Navar," Minji explained in the ship's meeting room. "They're traders from a system 30 light-years away." "How do you know this?" Seok asked. "And why are you operating beyond the quarantine?" Minji's face grew serious. "Because Earth needs to know what's happening out there. The Yuldar aren't the only ones who fear us. There's a whole coalition of species working to keep humans contained." One of the medical officers entered the room. "The aliens are awake. One of them speaks a little English. He learned it from old Earth radio signals." Seok and Minji went to the medical bay. The smallest of the Navar sat up on the bed when they entered. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "You humans?" he asked in broken English. "Yes," Seok replied gently. "I'm Lieutenant Seok. This is Captain Minji. We rescued you and your friends." The alien's body trembled slightly. "Humans saved Navar? This... not expected." "Why not?" Minji asked. "Why wouldn't we help you?" The alien looked confused. "Stories say humans dangerous. All space knows this." "What stories?" Seok pressed. "Why? Does everyone think humans are dangerous?" The alien hesitated. Then he pointed to another Navar who was still sleeping. "Kel knows old stories. Kel is history keeper." They had to wait 2 more days before Kel was strong enough to talk. During that time, Seok learned that Minji commanded a secret fleet of stealth ships. They had been slipping past the quarantine for years, gathering information. "The Yuldar. Don't tell their ships to fire on humans," Minji explained. "They just turn us back. It's almost like they're afraid of what might happen if they attack us directly." When Kel finally woke up, his English was better than the first Navar's. He sat with Seok and Minji in a private room. "I thank you for saving us," Kel said slowly. "Our ship was damaged by space debris." "We're happy to help," Seok replied. "But we have questions about why aliens fear humans." Kel's 4 eyes blinked nervously. "It is old knowledge. Very old. From before my people reached stars." "Please," Minji said. "We need to understand." Kel seemed to make a decision. From a pouch at his side, he pulled out a small device. When he pressed it, an image appeared in the air. It showed beings that looked almost human, but with slight differences. Taller, with broader shoulders and eyes that seemed to glow. "The lost ones," Kel said softly. "From ancient times. They looked like you, but were not exactly the same." "Who were they?" Seok asked. "They were powerful. Too powerful." Kel changed the image to show stars exploding. "Stories say they could destroy suns with their minds. They fought a great war that nearly ended all life in galaxy." Minji leaned forward. "What happened to them?" The oldest races joined together. After great struggle, they defeated lost ones, but could not kill them all, so they— Kel searched for the word. Changed them. Sealed away their power. Put them on distant blue world to start again. Siak felt a chill run down his spine. A blue world? Like Earth? Kel nodded slowly. Stories say lost ones would one day wake up, remember who they were, what they could do. He looked at both humans with all four eyes. That is why all space fears humans. You are children of lost ones. The room fell silent. Siak's mind raced with questions. Could it be true? Were humans descendants of these powerful beings? Is that why the Yuldar feared them? How would these powers awaken? Minji asked finally. No one knows, Kel replied. Maybe they never will, maybe already starting. Later that night, Siak stood in his quarters looking out at the stars. If Kel's story was true, everything he knew about human history was incomplete. Humans might have a past that stretched far beyond Earth, a past filled with power and destruction. Lieutenant, Officer Kim's voice came through the speaker. The Yuldar station is hailing us. They want to know why we have an alien ship docked with us. Tell them we're providing emergency assistance, Siak replied. And Kim, keep our sensors at maximum range. I have a feeling we need to watch the stars more carefully now. As he signed off, Siak wondered what other secrets waited beyond the quarantine. And more importantly, what secrets waited inside every human, perhaps ready to wake up after thousands of years of sleep. Dr. June walked slowly through his laboratory on Europa, Jupiter's icy moon. 8 years had passed since first contact with the Yuldar. In that time, Earth scientists had worked harder than ever before. If humans couldn't leave their solar system, they would make the most of what they had. June had been the science officer on that first mission. Now he led the most important research project in human history, studying human DNA for signs of what Kel had called the lost ones. Any changes today? June asked as he entered the main lab. His assistant, Yoon, looked up from her computer. She was young, only 26, but brilliant. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her eyes showed tiredness from long hours of work. Nothing obvious, she replied. But there's something strange in sample 218. Take a look. June walked over to her screen. The display showed a strand of DNA with certain sections highlighted. These sections shouldn't be inactive, Yoon explained. They look like they should do something important, but they're turned off somehow. June frowned. Like they were deliberately switched off? Exactly, Yoon said. And the strange thing is, all humans have these same inactive sections. It's not a mutation. It's part of our design. June felt a chill run down his spine. This matched what Captain Minji had secretly shared with him. That humans might be descended from a powerful race whose abilities were somehow locked away. Let's try the new activation sequence, June decided. If these genes were turned off, maybe we can turn them back on. They worked through the day and into the night. The Europa research station was quiet. Most of the 50 scientists and staff were asleep. Only June and Yoon remained in the lab running tests on human cell samples. It's working, Yoon suddenly exclaimed, looking through a microscope. The cells are changing. June rushed over to look. The human brain cells in the sample were forming new connections, creating patterns he had never seen before. What are those new neural pathways doing? He wondered aloud. I don't know, Yoon replied. But they're creating some kind of energy field. The sensors are picking it up. On the nearby monitor, a graph showed energy levels rising from the sample. It wasn't electricity or radiation or any known form of energy. We need to try it on a larger scale, June said. A living subject. Yoon looked nervous. You mean a human? That would be dangerous. We don't know what might happen. June nodded slowly. You're right. But this could be the answer to why aliens fear us. What if humans have abilities we don't know about? Abilities that were locked away? Before Yoon could answer, a loud alarm began to sound throughout the station. What's happening? She asked, startled. June rushed to the main computer. Something's entered our orbit. Multiple objects. His face went pale. It's the Yuldar. They've crossed the quarantine line. They're attacking. The research station shook as explosions hit nearby. The Yuldar had never shown aggression before. Why were they attacking now? They know, June realized with horror. They detected our experiment. They know we're close to discovering the truth. More explosions rocked the station. The lights flickered and went out, leaving only emergency lights glowing red in the darkness. We need to get to the escape pods, June told Yoon. He grabbed a small metal case containing their research data. They ran through the shaking corridors. Around them, other scientists were also rushing to evacuate. Through the windows, they could see Yuldar ships firing at the station. Why now? Yoon asked as they ran. We've been researching for years. The energy signature, June replied. Those new neural pathways were creating energy. The Yuldar must have detected it. They turned a corner and found their path blocked. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. This way. June pointed to another corridor. But before they could move, another explosion hit nearby. The floor beneath Yoon cracked open and she fell. Oon! June reached for her, but she had fallen to a lower level of the station. Dr. June! Her voice called up faintly. I'm okay. Keep going to the pods. I'll find another way. June hesitated, then nodded. I'll see you on Earth, he called down, then continued toward the escape pods. Meanwhile, Yoon found herself in a damaged part of the station. The air was thin here, and frost was forming on the walls as the heating systems failed. She needed to find another route to the escape pods. As she made her way through the damaged corridors, a loud crash came from ahead. Part of the station's outer wall broke open, and the sudden pressure change pulled her toward the gap. Yoon grabbed a railing, holding on desperately as air rushed past her into space. No! She screamed, feeling her grip slipping. In that moment of pure fear, something strange happened. Time seemed to slow down. Yoon felt a warmth spreading from her chest to her fingertips. Without thinking, she raised her free hand toward the broken wall. To her shock, the escaping air stopped moving. It hung suspended in the corridor, frozen in place. The broken pieces of the wall floated motionless. How am I doing this? Yoon whispered. She didn't understand what was happening, but somehow she knew she could control it. She focused her mind on the broken wall. The floating pieces slowly moved back into place. The air that had been escaping flowed back into the corridor. When she lowered her hand, the wall stayed sealed. Not perfectly. It looked melted in places. But it was holding. Yoon stared at her hands in wonder and fear. What had she just done? Was this what the Yuldar feared? She continued through the station, finding other survivors along the way. When they encountered more damage or danger, Yoon found she could use her new abilities to help. She could move objects without touching them. She could create shields of energy that blocked falling debris. Each time she used this power, it became easier. It felt natural, like remembering how to ride a bicycle after years of not trying. By the time she reached the escape pods, Yoon had saved 12 people. They looked at her with a mixture of gratitude and fear. What did you do back there? One scientist asked. How did you stop that fire without touching it? Yoon had no good answer. I don't know, it just happened. The last pods were preparing to launch when the station shook with the biggest explosion yet. A Yuldar ship had broken through to the central core. The station would collapse in minutes. Get in the pods, Yoon told the others. I'll hold them off. You can't stay, a technician argued. You'll die. But Yoon felt strange confidence. I'll be fine. Go. As the others launched in the escape pods, Yoon turned to face the approaching Yuldar ship. She raised both hands and energy flowed from her fingertips. A shimmering shield formed around what remained of the station. When the Yuldar fired again, their energy weapons hit the shield and scattered harmlessly. Inside the Yuldar ship, alien eyes widened in fear. What they had dreaded for centuries was happening. The humans were awakening. Yoon didn't understand the full extent of what she was doing. She only knew she needed to protect the escaping pods. As the last pod cleared the Jupiter system, She finally let herself enter the one remaining pod. As her pod raced toward Earth, Yoon looked out at the stars. Something had changed forever. The power the universe feared had begun to awaken, and she was only the first. Admiral Tay stood on the bridge of the Earth Alliance flagship Defender. Outside the view screen, the battle raged. It had been 2 months since the Yoldar attack on Europa. 2 months since they had broken their own quarantine and launched a full attack on humanity. "Status report," Tay ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. "3 enemy ships destroyed," replied her second-in-command. "We've lost the Phoenix and the Orion. The Mars colony is safe for now." Tay nodded. She was 50 years old with streaks of gray in her black hair. She had spent 30 years in Earth's space forces. Never had she imagined fighting a war against aliens with technology far beyond Earth's. Yet somehow, they were holding their own. "Admiral," called out the communications officer. "New message from Earth Command. More reports of the changes." Tay knew what this meant. Since the Europa attack, young people across Earth had started showing strange abilities. Just like Yoon, who had survived the research station attack. The abilities varied. Some could move objects with their minds, others could create energy, shields, and some could even sense the thoughts of others. "How many now?" Tay asked. "Over 5,000 confirmed cases. Most are under 30 years old." Whatever Dr. June had discovered on Europa was spreading. The dormant abilities in human DNA were waking up, and with each new person who developed these powers, humanity's chance of survival increased. On the main screen, a Yoldar cruiser fired at them. The Defender shook, but its shields held. "Return fire," Tay ordered. The Defender's weapons were primitive compared to the Yoldar's, but they had something the aliens didn't expect. 20 young people with newly awakened abilities, helping to strengthen the shields and guide the weapons. Meanwhile, on Earth, former Captain Hyun sat in a small meeting room in Geneva. Now 70 years old, he had been called out of retirement when the war began. Across from him sat representatives from 3 alien species, none of them Yoldar. "We thank you for meeting in secret," said the tallest alien, a being named Lorne from a race called the Vel. "Not all species agree with this attack on humans." "Then why don't you help us?" Hyun asked. "Open help would mean our own destruction," replied Lorne. "But we can share information. The Coalition fears what is happening with your people. The awakenings." Hyun nodded. "Young humans developing abilities that were somehow locked away in our DNA." "Yes," said another alien, smaller with purple skin. "The old stories are coming true. The Shapers are returning." "The Shapers?" Hyun asked. "Your ancestors," Lorne explained. "The ancient race you descended from. They were called many names by many species, but most knew them as the Shapers." The third alien placed a small device on the table. It projected an image of beings that looked almost human, but taller, with eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. 50,000 years ago, Lorne continued, the Shapers were the most powerful race in the galaxy. They could control energy with their minds. They could travel vast distances without ships. They could even reshape planets to their liking. "What happened to them?" Hyun asked. "War," said the purple alien sadly. "A terrible war that nearly destroyed the galaxy. The Shapers split into factions. Some wanted to rule all other races. Others wanted to protect them. Their war burned thousands of worlds." Lorne nodded. "Finally, a coalition of ancient races managed to defeat the worst of the Shapers, but they could not kill them all, and some did not deserve death, those who had fought to protect other species. So instead," the third alien added, "they used the Shapers' own technology against them. They locked away their powers and memories, then placed them on a primitive world to evolve again, to have a second chance." "Earth," Hyun whispered. "Yes," said Lorne. "The Shaper genes remained dormant for thousands of years, but they were always there, waiting. The coalition that watches your world has always feared the day those genes might wake up again. And now they have," Hyun said. Before anyone could respond, the door opened. A young woman entered quickly. It was Yoon, now a key figure in Earth's defense. "They're breaking through our outer defenses," she said urgently. "The Yuldar have called in their largest ships." "We must go," Lorne said, standing. "Remember what I've told you, Hyun. Not all of the galaxy fears humans. Some of us remember that there were good shapers, too." As the aliens left through a hidden exit, Yoon turned to Hyun. "Did they tell you anything useful?" "Perhaps," Hyun replied. "But I'm not sure how it helps us now." They hurried to the command center deep underground. On the large screens, they could see Earth space forces fighting bravely against the overwhelming Yuldar fleet. "Admiral Tay is holding them back," Yoon said, "but not for long. They've brought planet-killer weapons." Hyun's heart sank. They would destroy Earth? Kill billions of innocent people? "They fear what we might become more than they value our lives," Yoon said bitterly. Suddenly, one of the screens changed. A new ship had appeared near Earth's moon. It was unlike any they had seen before, not Yuldar, not human. It was enormous and seemed to shine with golden light. "Unknown vessel," said a technician. "It's not attacking. It's just watching." Then, a voice spoke through all communication channels. It spoke in a language no human had ever heard, yet somehow, Hyun and Yoon understood it perfectly. "The time has come," the voice said. "The Guardians can no longer stay silent." The golden ship moved between Earth and the Yuldar fleet. A wave of energy spread from it, but this energy didn't destroy. Instead, it simply pushed the Yuldar ships back, like a gentle but unstoppable hand. "What is happening?" Yoon whispered. Another message came, but this one seemed to speak directly into their minds. "Hyun of Earth, Yoon of Earth, you must come." Without understanding how, they knew what to do. Yoon took Hyun's hand, and together they focused their minds on the golden ship. To the shock of everyone in the command center, both of them simply vanished. They appeared in a large room made of what looked like crystal and light. Before them stood a tall being with 4 arms and eyes that swirled with colors. Despite its alien appearance, it felt familiar somehow. "I am the last guardian," it said. "We were tasked with watching over you until the time came." "The time for what?" Hyun asked. "For remembering," the guardian replied. "Your people were once shapers. Their powers were taken from them, their memories wiped clean. But now the seal is breaking." "Because of what Dr. June discovered?" Yoon asked. "Partly," said the guardian, "but also because it was always meant to happen eventually. The hope was that humans would evolve differently this time, that you would develop wisdom to match your power." The guardian waved a hand, and suddenly both Hyun and Yoon saw images flash through their minds. They saw stars being born. They saw worlds being shaped by thought alone. They saw terrible battles and beautiful creations. "These are not just visions," the guardian explained. "They are memories. The racial memories of the shapers, preserved in your DNA. As your powers awaken, these memories will return to all humans." "The war," Hyun said, understanding flooding through him. "The terrible war that nearly destroyed everything. That's what the Yuldar and the others fear will happen again." "Yes," said the guardian. "They fear you will repeat the mistakes of your ancestors." Yoon stepped forward. "But we don't have to. We can choose a different path." The guardian's eyes seemed to smile. "That is what we hoped. That is why some of us protected your world all these years. Now you must show the galaxy that humans have indeed changed." As the memories continued to flow into their minds, Hyun and Yoon began to understand the true power that lay dormant in every human. And they realized that the universe had good reason to fear what humans could do. But perhaps it was time to show them what humans would choose to do instead. "They're coming," Admiral Tay announced to the Earth Defense Council. "All of them. The entire alien coalition is heading toward Earth." The room fell silent. On the large screen, thousands of alien ships moved through space toward the solar system. The Yuldar led them, but ships from at least 6 other species followed. "How long do we have?" asked the council president. 3 days, Tay replied. "Maybe 4. It had been 1 week since Hyun and Yoon had met the Guardian. When they returned to Earth, they brought with them knowledge that changed everything. They shared what they had learned about the Shapers, humanity's powerful ancestors, and the terrible war that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. Now, across Earth and its colonies, more and more humans were awakening to their hidden abilities. Young people were the first, but soon adults began to feel the change too. Strange dreams filled with stars and ancient battles, new powers that seemed to flow naturally from their minds and hands. "What are our options?" asked the council president. Tae looked grim. "Their fleet is too large. Even with our new abilities, we can't fight them all." "Perhaps we don't need to fight," said Hyun. The old diplomat stood slowly, his eyes showing a wisdom beyond his years. "Perhaps we need to show them something they don't expect." Un nodded in agreement. In the past week, her abilities had grown stronger. She could now move objects with her mind, create shields of pure energy, and even feel the thoughts of others nearby. "The Guardian told us we have a choice," she said. "We can repeat the mistakes of our ancestors, or we can choose a different path." 3 days later, the alien fleet reached the edge of the solar system. Their ships filled space like a dark cloud. At the front, the largest Yuldar vessel carried Speaker Tail, the same diplomat who had met with Hyun years ago. "Attention humans," Tail's message played across all Earth channels. "You have broken the terms of quarantine. You have awakened powers that threaten all life in the galaxy. For the safety of all species, Earth must be cleansed." "Cleansed?" whispered someone in Earth's command center. "They mean destroyed." Admiral Tae stood tall. "Send our response." On the screen, Hyun's face appeared. Though old, his eyes shone with new energy. "Speaker Tae," he said calmly, "we understand your fear. We know what our ancestors did, but we are not them. We ask for one meeting before you take action, one chance to show you who we really are." On the Yuldar ship, Tae considered the request. The human abilities were growing stronger each day. Perhaps it was best to act now, before they became too powerful to stop. But something in Hyun's words gave him pause. The humans seemed different, calmer, wiser than before. "One meeting," Tae agreed finally. "On your moon, bring no weapons." 6 hours later, a small ship from Earth landed on the moon. From it stepped Hyun, Yoon, Admiral Tae, and 10 others chosen to represent humanity. They walked to the meeting place, a flat area near one of the old Apollo landing sites. From the other direction came Speaker Tae and representatives from the other alien species. They walked cautiously, clearly afraid of what the humans might do. "Thank you for coming," Hyun said when both groups stood facing each other. "Say what you must," Tae replied. "But know that our decision is made. The power you are awakening destroyed countless worlds once before. We cannot allow it to happen again." "We know about our ancestors," said Yoon. "We know about the Shapers and their war. The memories are returning to all of us." This caused a murmur among the aliens. Their worst fears were coming true. "Then you know why we must stop you," said Tae, "before you become like them." "But that's where you're wrong," Hyun said gently. "We are not becoming like them. We are becoming something new." He nodded to Yoon. She stepped forward and raised her hands. The aliens tensed, expecting an attack. But instead, a soft light began to glow between her palms. It grew and shaped itself into a small model of Earth. "For thousands of years we lived on our planet without knowing our true nature," Yoon said. "We fought wars. We made terrible mistakes. But we also created beauty." The glowing Earth in her hands changed, showing images from human history. Art, music, acts of kindness and courage. "We learned from our mistakes," continued Hyun. "We grew. We built societies based on respect and cooperation. Yes, we still have flaws, but we strive to be better." Tae stepped forward. "You fear what we can do. Let us show you instead what we choose to do." At a signal from Tae, something incredible happened back on Earth. Millions of humans, all focusing their newly awakened abilities together, created a shield of energy around the planet. But this shield didn't hide Earth or protect it. Instead, it shone with light, sending beams of energy outward, not as weapons, but as bridges. On the moon, the humans each raised a hand. Around them, the lunar dust rose and formed into beautiful, intricate patterns. The very elements answered to their thoughts. "We could use these powers for destruction," said Un. "But that's not what we choose." To prove her point, she approached the nearest alien, a being from a species known for its fragility. The alien trembled as she came close. Un held out her hand. "Your species suffers from a genetic disease. We can feel it in you. May I?" After a moment of hesitation, the alien nodded. Yoon placed her hand gently on the alien's chest. A warm glow spread from her fingers. When she stepped back, the alien gasped. "The pain, it's gone," it said in wonder. "We can heal," said Hyun. "We can build. We can explore and learn and grow. Yes, we have the power that once nearly destroyed the galaxy. But we also have something our ancestors lost. Wisdom." Tail studied the humans carefully. "Words are easy. How can we trust that you won't change? That in 100 years or 1,000 you won't decide to conquer rather than cooperate?" "You can't know for certain," admitted Hyun honestly. "Just as we can't know that you won't attack us again. Trust must be earned by both sides." He held out his hand to Tail. "We ask for a chance to prove ourselves, to show the galaxy that humanity has learned from the mistakes of the Shapers, that we can be partners rather than destroyers." For a long moment, Tail didn't move. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance. Then, slowly, he extended one of his 4 hands and took Hyun's. "It will not be easy," Tail said. "Many will still fear you." "Fear can turn to understanding," said Yoon, "given time and patience." As the meeting ended and both groups prepared to return to their ships, Tail asked one final question. "Why didn't you fight? With your powers growing, you might have won." Hyun smiled sadly. "Because that's what the old Shapers would have done, and we are determined to be better than our ancestors. The universe feared humans because they knew what we could do. Now, let them see what we choose to do instead." 3 days later, the alien fleet began to depart from the solar system. Not all at once, many ships remained to watch Earth carefully, but the immediate threat of destruction had passed. On Earth, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. They carried the legacy of a powerful, flawed race, but they also carried hope. Hope that this time the story would have a different ending. And across the galaxy, word spread of the humans who had the power to destroy worlds but chose to heal. Instead, proving that the most important power is not what you can do, but what you choose to do.